Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ming. Sorry, I was thirsty. And we'll be looking at some more Tree Houses news today. I know, guys, big surprise, right? There's more news. This time around, a video came up from the YouTube channel Polygon Guides, showing off about a 10-minute long clip of Tree Houses gameplay. It is of the same level as the last video, that was of around 12 minutes. However, it's clearly a different person playing, because they do different things, showing off different combat arts and whatnot, and there's a couple things in here that I really want to dissect. I think it's pretty much the same save file, because we see the same characters with the same stats. I think this is from a presentation on E3 where a couple people were allowed to play and record their gameplay, and now it's sort of being uploaded to YouTube. So yeah, we're gonna look a little bit at that, and I also want to follow up a little bit more discussion about the weapon triangle, a couple of details that I missed. The weapon triangle is sort of in the game, it's just in the game in a very different form, so we'll be touching a little bit on that based on some comments that I read, and we'll be looking at some funny screenshots that was released that show off some new characters. So yeah, we got some stuff to jump into, so let's get to it. So before we jump into the gameplay, I would like to ask you guys a question, because I'm always interested in hearing your opinions on my future projects. So I want to do sort of a countdown hype series for Tree Houses on my channel. I want to release these short videos as the game is nearing its release, where we basically count down the days until Tree Houses is out. And I was thinking about repeating a series that I did prior to Echoes called the Character Previews. Some of you who were around then might remember, I released these small videos about 2 to 3 minutes in length, where I just showed off various characters in Echoes. I showed off their artwork, I showed off their comparison between Gaiden and Echoes, I showed off their stats and growths as they were released, and basically just gathered all the information about them in one little video for you guys to watch. Would you guys be interested in me doing something similar for Fire Emblem Tree Houses? I'm pretty sure I would start off showing the Tree Lords off, Elgar, Dimitri, and Claude, just showing off their artwork, showing off all the little clips with them, and just... We don't know their growth rates yet, maybe they will be released at some points, but we do know what they're good and bad at in the Academy, so I might include that in the video as well. If they have artwork released post-time skip, I will show that off as well, and just give my opinions on the units. The videos will be about 2 to 3 minutes in length, nothing more than that, and I will be releasing them gradually as Tree Houses comes closer to its release date. So yeah, just let me know if you'd be interested in that. Go to the comment section, just let me know your opinions, and if I see enough positive feedback, I will do this series. So first off today, I would like to talk a little bit about combat arts, because this clip reveals something to us about combat arts that at least I wasn't aware of. So in a previous video, I do believe I said that combat arts were tied to certain weapons. That's how they worked in Echoes. You wielded a steel lance long enough, you would unlock a combat art that could be performed with the steel lance. However, combat arts doesn't seem to work like this anymore. In fact, they seem to be available for certain weapon types. So we see Byleth here first selecting what combat art she wants to use, and then she gets to select a weapon. And all of the combat arts that we see available are sword type combat arts. We see Wraith Strike, which seems to be a regular increased damage and hit combat art. We see one called Grounder, which apparently is effective against flyers. We see a Bane of Monsters combat arts that, you know, is probably effective against monsters. And we see a Ruptured Heaven combat arts that is effective against crocodiles? I don't know what that icon is, you guys tell me. But then we see that then she selects the weapon type. And you can see that lances are grayed out here because the only combat arts that Byleth knows are sword combat arts. So that indicates that once you learn a combat art for swords, you'll be able to apply that to any sword that you wield, including the Sword of the Creator, which is Byleth's legendary weapon, or they're called relics in this case. I must admit, the Sword of the Creator only having 20 uses makes me wonder what happens if you break the thing. I mean, isn't this sword gonna be pretty important for the story? Is it gonna be like Roy's Binding Blade? Can you like break it and not get the best ending? This is something that I wonder about. We still don't know how combat arts are gonna be acquired. I imagine they will be taught to you at the monastery. Or maybe after you use a sword a certain amount of time, you will just learn it. But it's very cool to see that once you acquire a sword-based combat art, you will be able to use it with any sword that you have in your inventory. Next up, I want to show off a little bit of a visual thing that people have been commenting on, and that's the fact that a character's crests will flash during battle when they deliver certain effects. So here we see this clip of female Byleth critting with her sword, and you can see her crest flash in front of her. Indeed, we see the same thing happening to Felix whenever he attacks, or at least when he lands crits. I'm not sure about his regular attacks. And this is because when characters with major crest enter battle, and their crest have some sort of effect on the battle itself, we'll see them flash above them, which is a really cool thing. Again, I think the reason why we only see this on Byleth and Felix is because in this battle, they are the only characters who have major crests attached to them. Or maybe they only flash when their effect is actually active. So maybe that means that Byleth's and Felix crests both do something to their critical strikes, maybe make them stronger or make them more likely to occur. I mean, we don't know, but it's just really cool to see. Next up, I want to talk a little bit about a gambit that has been revealed to us called Disturbance, and I personally think it's really cool. So here we get to see Sylvain utilizing it against an enemy bandits, and whenever it's activated, it seems like your squad will surround the opponent and attack them from multiple sides, causing confusion in their ranks. And it deals damage like most gambits does, but it also seems to apply a secondary effect. It seems to confuse them somehow, adding a bit of like an icon next to them where you see 3 teardrops. Now at first I thought maybe it would take them out of action for a turn, like paralyzing them, but we do see that the bandits attack during the next enemy phase, so it seems like they will be able to move and attack. However, we see that they only have a 41% chance to hit Sylvain. So my speculation is that whenever you use this gambit against someone, you will reduce their accuracy maybe, or maybe you'll halve their movement. It seems to be some sort of debuff that you apply to the enemy. In fact, we get to see someone use this gambit against the King of Beasts later on in this video, and we get to see the same icon hovering over the King of Beasts. And I don't really know if it reduces accuracy or not on the King of Beasts, but it seems to be the case. It does something, we just don't know what it is. So next up, I want to talk a little bit about this clip of Didu being attacked by an enemy fighter, and despite Didu having gauntlets equipped, he does not attack twice. Now gauntlets is the new weapon type introduced in Fire Emblem 16, which allows you to punch your opponents, and the upside to gauntlets is that they attack twice. However, they can't be utilized by mounted units. But it also seems like they won't attack twice on enemy phase. This is how Bray weapons were nerfed both in Fates and in Heroes. They essentially only were allowed to attack twice on player phase, and this seems to be the case for gauntlets in Tree Houses as well, so that makes them a little bit less good than I thought they would be at first, because they do seem to have lower stats compared to the other weapons, and I still haven't seen any combat arts attached to the gauntlets, but yeah, so it seems like you will only get that double attack whenever you actually attack on player phase. Next up, we get to see the player of this game make a terrible mistake as Ingrid gets bonked by the King of Beasts and dies. However, luckily we have the Divine Pulse to save our asses, and here we get to see a little bit more about how it works. So what I absolutely love here is how it shows the amount of untapped units you have as you roll the pulse around. This is really helpful for me, especially considering it sort of dims the colors, and being colorblind, I have a little bit of a difficulty seeing the grayed out characters sometimes, or if they're grayed out or not. So the game just telling me how many untapped units are left as I roll through is really helpful to me. Apparently this game will also have a colorblind mode, which I'm very, very grateful for. I don't know if it's 100% confirmed yet, but I seem to recall reading in an article. So thank you for not being dicks to colorblind people like Awakening. Also, another little detail here, we get to see that this is clearly a start of a battle, and we have 3 charges left of the Divine Pulse. I don't know if this save game is on normal or hard difficulty, but this makes me super hopeful that the amount of charges we will have on this thing will be relatively low. So I hope it won't turn out like another turn wheel with like 20 uses in the endgame, because that completely trivializes the game. Around 3 to 5 charges, I think, is the sweet spots. I hope it doesn't go very far above that. Next up, I want to talk a little bit about this clip where they fight against the King of Beasts, and this thing seems really tough, by the way. Not only do you have to like go through its health bar 3 times, but it seems to dish out a lot of damage, and it seems like whenever these things are active on the field, you'll need to divert a very large portion of your army to deal with them. I'm not sure exactly what happens if you just leave them alone, because they do seem to attack the bandits as well. If maybe you get something out of killing them, I don't know. However, we get to see something very interesting here. They have this area of effect attack called the Poison Breath, which does a lot of damage. However, it seems like they'll actually indicate what area they'll go for. Right here you can see Dimitri standing in front of the King of Beasts, and you can see the area of effects outlined underneath him, showing you where the King of Beasts is going to be attacking. Again, this combined with the AI arrows pointing to the player which units will be attacked next turn, means that there will be a degree of planning in tree houses that will be pretty easy for the player to take advantage of if they know where to look. I'm not sure if I like it or not. I mean, part of the fun with Fire Emblem is figuring out the enemy AI and kind of predicting where they'll go. The game just straight up telling you where the enemy will go, it might make the game a little bit too easy. I hope that's not going to be the case. We'll see. I might have to eat my words, but so far I'm a little bit 50-50 on this. I hope that too much information won't be revealed to the player, but at the same time, it's always nice to have more to work with as a player. Next up, I just want to point out a little bit of a small change that I haven't mentioned yet on the channel, and that is the fact that skill is now called dexterity, or dex for short. We get to see the Didu leveling up here. He's slow as balls, by the way, 4 speed. This guy's going to get doubled by everything. And we can see here that the stat is indeed called dex. My reaction to this is just like, why? It's been called skill since the first Fire Emblem game. Why change this? Like, I don't know, dex, it just sounds like a generic RPG stat in my eyes. It sounds like if someone were to like create a cheap knockoff Fire Emblem game, they just rename skill to dex to not get sued or something. I don't know. It's a weird change. I'm not too bothered by it, but I don't understand why they couldn't just call it skill. It's been skill for like 25 plus years. Next up, we get to see the player use a whole bunch of gambits and combat arts to take down the King of Beasts, and I'm noticing something very interesting here in that the combat art Monster Piercer does not seem to do effective damage against the King of Beasts. What I think is going on here is that I think the player is making a mistake and actually using the wrong combat art. I don't think the King of Beasts is a monster. I think it's a different type of enemy. In fact, I think that in order to deal with the King of Beasts, you will probably need to use the combat art we saw at the start of this video called Ruptured Heaven. You know, the one that I jokingly said was effective against crocodiles. That icon looks a lot more like the King of Beasts than a monster. In fact, I think that the combat art Monster Piercer is effective against terrors, like the giant wolves that we saw in the other video. So again, I think the player is just making a mistake here. I mean, sure, the combat art adds a little bit of damage and hits, so it's not totally useless, but it doesn't do the double or triple effective damage that I think the player expected it to do. So that's all I really wanted to talk about in regards to this clip. There's a whole bunch of other details in there, but I've covered them in previous videos already. If you want to go check it out for yourself, I'll throw a link in the video description. But for now, I would like to finish off this video by clarifying a little bit regarding the weapon triangle debate that I had in the previous video. So, in the last video, I said that the weapon triangle is essentially gone from tree houses, but strictly speaking, this isn't entirely true. It is still in the game, but it is in the game in a different format. So many comments pointed this out on the last video, including this one from Super Frubbles, who basically explains that the weapon triangle is in the game, but it is in the game in the form of breaker skills. So, let me explain. If you are a lance-wielding character, you have access to the skill Swordbreaker. If you decide to train and equip the skill, you will get a 20% hit and avoid bonus whenever you are wielding a lance against sword-wielding units. So it is a choice, basically. I think we have 5 skills to pick between. So if you decide to pick Lancebreaker or Swordbreaker as one of your 5 skills, then as long as you're wielding a lance, you will actually have a weapon triangle advantage against sword-wielding units. Not only that, you will have a 20% hit and avoid bonus, which is actually pretty massive. It's exactly the same values as from Fire Emblem 4, which was the game where the weapon triangle got introduced in, and also the game where it was at its strongest. So what this basically means is that for players who want to take advantage of it, the weapon triangle will be available in the game if they're willing to spend one of their 5 skills on it. However, what it also will mean is that not all enemies will be able to have a weapon triangle advantage against you. I mean, not unless they actually come with breaker skills. Maybe in the late game we'll start to see enemies coming with breaker skills, maybe we'll see brigands with a lance breaker and whatnot. But I would hazard a guess that at least in the early game, we won't be seeing a lot of skills on enemies, so the weapon triangle will be something that only the player will be able to take advantage of. But I think this is actually a good change. I mean, it's still there if you want it, but it's not shoved into your face at every single corner. Like, you won't always go up against the weapon triangle disadvantage if you decide to attack brigands with the lance-wielding characters, unless they have a breaker skill, of course, which some of them might have. Next up, I want to just talk briefly about a tweet that was posted on the official Serenus Forest Twitter account of these 3 new characters that was recently revealed in some poster. The image is a bit blurry, so we don't get to see them all that well, but it's 3 people that we've previously seen in cinematics. We see this guy who I suspected was Geralt gone evil. We also get to see this other priest who stares up at the clouds or at the sun. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Isuka from Radiant Dawn, if I'm going to be completely honest. And then we get to see this girl right here. I can't really see her all that well, but she seems a lot younger, but still very evil looking. And considering these guys are placed directly under the Reaper Knight and the Flame Emperor, I think we can conclude that these are going to be bad guys. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that was it for this news update. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I swear to God, we seem to get news every other day now, and with each update, I just get more and more hyped for Tree Houses. I think this is going to be an amazing game. So yeah, as always, guys, let me know in the comment section if there's anything that I missed, anything you want me to go into a little bit more deep. If there's any Easter eggs I missed or any details like that. You guys are really good at finding little details that I can cover, and I do read all the comments, so they're super helpful. Thank you so much, guys. And yeah, let me know about that character preview series, whether or not you want to see it or not. I would love to do it for you guys if there's interest for it. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the video. Throw a like and a comment if you enjoyed it, and remember to subscribe for more Tree Houses news. My name is Mangs, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!